Welcome to Business Live. I'm Mark Croskery. Tonight's BL, happy Friday. First up, we've got Supreme Ventures. That's, global making waves, lotteries company, gaming company, entertainment company, as they refer to themselves as. Breaking news last night talking about in their actual virtual investor forum that they held with Mayberry, talking about expanding into new markets, South Africa, expanding their footprint. We're going to talk more about that. But in this case right now here, trading in their shares, a purchase, always great to see. So this is a director and a connected party buying up a total of just over 1 million shares, 1,020,626 shares during the period September 25th to September 28th, 2020. That's what we like to see. Skin in the game, folks. There are a couple of stocks, companies on the market that you just tend, you tend to see that there's always buying up in their shares, whether it's actually, post results or before results, but as long as it's not in the blackout period, as the JSE says. Next up, we've got First Rock Capital Holdings here. So some changes to the board of directors of their subsidiary. First Rock Capital Holdings, still relatively new on the stock markets, listed recently, on the JSE Jamaica Stock Exchange. So the advisory that they're coming out here is for subsidiary Dollar Financial. So this is a structural changes to the board of directors. These are non-executive board appointments. So well-known businessman here, that's Mr. Ryan Reed, is going to go into the role or the position of chairman. Also being added to the board, and these are all effective, September 28th. That's Miss Catherine Goodhall, well known also on a few boards, in terms of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and the vice chairman, Mr. Philip Martin, as well, in terms of changes here, advisory on the JSE, that's the jamstockx.com website. Now, more interesting news, Tropical Battery. We carry this on Business Live or BL, how well their IPO did, and this is a good sign of that. The basis of the allocation is out. It's on the cover page of the JSE website, and this is the basis of allocation for the IPO. So if you're a reserve shareholder, if you got into that pool, you got 100% of your take up. Now, if you were in the general pool, that's the general public, you would have gotten your first 50,000 shares. So that's a nice size. It's a decent size compared to, the early days of the junior market. But after that, you'd have gotten roughly 30% and change of your application, 30.6% or so from a Tropical Battery IPO standpoint. Not great news. We carried some heartbreaking news yesterday in terms of Palace Amusement, 1921, having to close, 2 cinemas or cineplexes. So in this case here, Disney having to lay off, biting the bullet as much as 28,000 workers. This is mostly at the resorts in Florida and California. Now, when you look at it from a percentage basis or an overall standpoint, 110,000 employees at, their theme parks or their theme park division. The release goes on to say that really since, the pandemic, March or so, they've really been trying to hold it together. But the reality is just like what everyone is facing, low attendance, the fixed cost of the theme park and so forth. And they're really trying to focus this on, the per hour, employees, what they call like temporary employees and so forth. But the reality is that some executives, some full-time, workers are also going to be impacted. So 28,000, we carried on Business Live earlier this week about American Airlines and what's happening there, depending on what happens with the bailout plan and, more job losses there. So you can see the trend of what's happening in the USA, America. Everybody wants the economy to come back faster, but the reality is not just happening just yet as we're into October, but more than 6 months now, approximately since the pandemic. Last up, we spoke about this as well too. Sports, equity investing, private equity in sports. Here's another interesting topic here. So this is a company called Guild, a very recent company, 2018 or so. Well-known, soccer player, footballer, David Beckham, now connected to an esports firm. And he's been making his moves, in terms of, football globally in the Miami sports team as well. So the company lists on the London Stock Exchange, the LSE. And, earlier this week, just to highlight this, because we haven't seen yet investing, in the Jamaica necessarily sports team by private equity investors as yet, but it could be something to come in 2021 and onward. So Beckham's stake is now 4.78%, just under 5% in Guild. And what is Guild going to do? So it's going to focus on the esports space. and it's going to manage, the persons in esports. So look at this now as a sport. ESPN carries it, it's on their website and so forth, and it's going to help them, manage them as, let's say, athletes, or manage them as players or gamers, and help manage their revenue contracts, their marketing, and really provide professional management. Now, the valuation, very interesting valuation here. We're not going to get into it tonight in terms of how they value the company, but we're talking about, 52 million US or so in terms of the valuation of Guild. Beckham again owning just under 5% of that. Some nice money there for David Beckham. I'm Mark Croskery, this is Business Live.